everyone, welcome to Hub and Spoke, a storytelling platform produced by the Hurt Hub for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Davidson College. Through these conversations, we hope to inspire and connect the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs leading lives of leadership and service. Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Hub and Spoke here in our season 2. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome today Ed Van Deman, class of 1969. I will give a little bit of a brief introduction about Ed, and then we'll jump right into the questions that we have for him today. So thank you so much, Ed, for being with us. I'm going to read through your bio, and as CEO and co-founder, Ed is responsible for Forest Systems' corporate strategy and implementation. Edward's entire career has been devoted to building and using financial reporting systems. In 1983, he co-founded Financial Navigator, Inc. and introduced the first integrated general ledger accounting and portfolio management software solution to the high net worth marketplace. Ed received the Certificate in Investment Performance Measurement, or CIPM, designation awarded by the CFA Institute in 2010. In 2013, he was tapped to serve as a member of the CIPM Association Advisory Council because of his strong background in investment performance reporting. Ed is also a licensed CPA and has earned the Personal Financial Specialist, or PFS, credential certified by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the AICPA. He also holds the Chartered Global Management Accountant, or CGMA, designation. Prior to co-founding Financial Navigator, Ed was a registered investment advisor with a leading investment management firm in Northern California, where he served high net worth clients. His career began as a CPA with KPMG in New York City. And Ed holds an MBA with distinction from New York University and has done postgraduate work in finance and information technology at the University of Chicago and in the Stanford University Executive Management Program for high-tech executives. Ed also holds a BS in mathematics from Davidson College and is a member of the advisory board here at the Hurt Hub. Welcome, Ed.
Well, thank you, Liz. It's great to be here.
Yeah. We're long overdue. I'm very excited to have you as a guest on Hub and Spoke. And where we always start at Hub and Spoke is really talking about the journey. So can you walk us through your journey from Davidson until today and really highlighting some of those major decision points along the way? I think that's really what our audience loves to hear about.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, well, that's my favorite subject. Nice of you to ask. I was a mathematics major at Davidson. I started out in physics and then decided, math's more exciting than being in the lab all the time. So I chose mathematics, but I also, and I jokingly tell people, I majored in junior year abroad. The idea of spending a year in Germany for my junior year sounded so appealing to me when I was finishing high school that I was totally committed to that. And of course, you had to be very good in German, so I studied German very hard, lots of hours in the language lab or whatnot, and went to Marburg University for a year, had a terrific experience my junior year, and came back my senior year. And then I went through placement, the career placement office and all at Davidson, and I get tremendous fortune. There was a partner from KPMG who came to interview at Davidson. He interviewed me. He liked, what I had to offer and offered me a job to go to work for KPMG. And you talk about decisions, he said, well, we have offices in, 50 cities around the United States. You can go anywhere you want to go. They'll hire you in any of these offices. And I said, oh my God, all of a sudden, for a guy who had never been out of North Carolina or Virginia until I went to Germany, it was pretty amazing. And so I said, well, where do you think I should go? Not knowing any better. And he said, you should go to New York City. And I said, okay, I'm going to New York City. So talk about major decision of my life was where to go. And he made it for me. I asked him and he made it for me. And I went to a fantastic experience. Highly recommend it to anyone to go to a major college like that. Among other things, that's where I met my wife. My wife and I met in Greenwich Village in New York City. She had done the same thing. She had gone to a Mount Holyoke College, an all-women's college, and was ready for the big life after college and came to New York City. and that's where we met. And we've been married 48 years ever since then. Yeah, and then career wise, I spent 4 years in public accounting. I passed the CPA exam there in New York State. I completed an MBA. And after that, I realized I did not want a career in public accounting. It was great. Great experience. I really enjoyed it. Great people. But I thought there was more to life. And I went to Chicago at that point. My wife was in the PhD program at the University of Chicago. So we went there. And I went to work for a corporation, worked in corporate finance. And I was an MBA CPA at that point in time. And I did the things that MBAs do in corporations, managing, capital budgeting and all the classic kind of corporate finance functions. Terrific experience. Amazing. A great company, great people. They own the largest retailer in Mexico. I was traveling to Mexico a lot, on international business. All around the country, tremendous experience, a tremendous amount of IT experience. I did a lot of IT work for them, ran a corporate financial model for them. We had a model of the entire corporation's finances. So great experience. 7 years I was in Chicago. And then I said, there's got to be more to life than this. And so again, decision wise, I was pursuing the kinds of things that I thought, helped me develop as a person. And interested me, and I thought were interesting. And after a while, they weren't so interesting anymore because I'd been there, done that, and I was ready to move on. And so at that point, I had heard about Silicon Valley. I had never been to California. I'd never been west of the Mississippi. So I'd heard about Silicon Valley and the technology that was going on and the combination of business and technology. And so in 1979, I interviewed around, and I found, and I was very interested in investment management at that point, kind of applying, accounting and applying the corporate finance, but doing something more entrepreneurial. I was tired of the big corporate world and whatnot. I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial. And I thought the area of investment management was a great opportunity to do that. So I interviewed around, and I got an offer to work for an investment management firm started by 3 guys out of Stanford University. These guys were Stanford undergraduates and Stanford MBAs, had tremendous contacts in Northern California, and had started an investment management firm managing portfolios for high net worth individuals and all. And people like Mike Markkula, one of the co-founders, along with the 2 Steves at Apple, were clients of ours and all. At one point in time, the president of Stanford University was a client of mine. So it's just amazing experience. Amazing, learned a tremendous amount, tremendously challenging, bright people, tremendous experience. Did that for 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. Again, I was bored. I said, there's got to be more to life than this. And actually, one of my clients that I had worked with, who had been, and this is really dating me, he had been the vice president of marketing for Atari. Wow. The Nolan Bushnell days and Pong and, all of that. Yeah, right. And so he's sharp guy, real sharp guy. And he said, Ed, well, there's a tremendous opportunity developing software for high net worth individuals doing for financial management. Exactly what I had done as a professional and kind of a combination of what I'd done in the corporate world, but applying it to high net worth individuals and all. And I said, well, I've got a great job. Why should I join you? And he said, well, what would it take for you to join? This guy was a classic venture capitalist in Silicon Valley. And I said, well, you got to raise some money. We've got to have a company, and you've got to raise. Well, within 48 hours, he had raised $500,000, from the Bank of America. And so I said, okay, I'm on board. So we started Financial Navigator at that point. And I became the CEO of the company. Tremendously challenging, even with their contacts, and even with at one point the president of Charles Schwab was on our board of directors and all. So we struggled. We really struggled, and everybody gave up on us. But we kept at it, and by golly, we built a company, and we did very well at that company. We became a major player in the technology space for high net worth, ultra high net worth kind of clients. We described our target market as people that had $100 million and above. Less than that, we really couldn't help you. But people, once you get to that level, the complexity of the financial reporting becomes so great that you have to use technology to get it done. And they're just amazing things that can be done with technology, as you can imagine. And the issues that people at that level deal with are extremely complex. We had 4 clients in the Forbes 400 wealthiest people in the United States. And the cutoff for that is $1.5 billion now. So we had 4 clients that exceeded that. So these were interesting situations or whatnot. And then we did that for a long time, had a great run. And then along comes a company out of Mumbai, India, that acquired our company. They said, this is what we want to do. And we've done this in India. We'd like to. And I was old enough at that point, and that was the goal of Silicon Valley, is to start a high-tech company and sell it, sell it to somebody. And so I thought that's what you're supposed to do. And so we sold it. We sold the company at that point. My management team was pretty pleased. They got paid well, and I got paid well for that. So that's when I came back to Davidson. And did what I'd always wanted to do, was to get involved with Davidson in the entrepreneurial setup. And I was very happy when Jay Hurt came along and wanted to fund the Jay Hurt Innovation Technology and Innovation Lab there. It's fantastic. So that was 2017, and we've seen the hub grow and all, from just an old building that you can hardly walk in to a wonderful place that it is now. It's been fantastic and all. So that's all fine. And then the strange thing happened. The company that acquired our company couldn't manage it. They could not handle the clients. Really had taken on more than they could handle effectively. The clients were not happy. I had clients contacting me and saying, gosh, if you would come back and run the company again, we would appreciate it. And I had employees that had gone to work for the company that acquired us and then got fired. They let go of our employees. It wasn't I tell people, it wasn't a great acquisition for anybody except me. It worked out great for me. It didn't work out well for the clients. It didn't work out well for the company that acquired us. It didn't work out well for the employees. So and the company that acquired us recognized that, and they owed me some money, and they gave us back the company. They basically gave us back the technology. My management team came back on board. We incorporated as Forest Systems and all. And we are now offering the platform and doing what we did before. And I'm right back where I had been before in terms of working with people. A few years older, but and a little richer result of it, but right back where I am, which is exciting, which is extremely exciting. The opportunities that it gives us to work with Davidson and all of the parts of entrepreneurship that have grown up around Davidson are extremely exciting. Clients are fantastic. And I couldn't be happier. So that's what I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's helpful. And I really, I want to dig into the piece where you said, I think if I'm paraphrasing, people gave up on us, but we stuck to our guns. We stuck to it. So you had that initial funding, you went to it. The other thing too, that kind of in that, talk about, where do you find that source of grit and perseverance? Where did that come from? Talk a little bit about how that felt and how you kind of managed to get out of that period successfully.
Well, that's a key part of entrepreneurship is you face so many obstacles. The software's got to work. And we would introduce the product and it would have bugs in the software, and so we had to deal with those. What is happening? Employees, we had to deal with hiring in Silicon Valley is extremely competitive and requires tremendous financial resources to attract the kind of talent that you want to attract and all. And so it's easy to not succeed. It's easy, and you don't hear about the failures. You hear about the successes, but most companies really don't succeed. But to answer your question, it comes down to just perseverance, grit, character, however you describe it. And the lowest day of my life was the day I realized that no one, including my wife, thought we were going to succeed. Everyone thought
Wow.
it was just a matter of time, and that we would fold the tent and we would give it up, and that we would not be economically viable as a company. I was the only person on the planet that felt we would succeed. Now, in history, looking back, that seems kind of hard to believe, but that day was there.
Mm-hmm.
But people, including my brother, by the way, was one of our co-founders. My brother, who majored in computer science at NC State and had a master's degree from NC State, very good programmer and very excellent programmer. He was our chief technical officer. So it was really a brother team that was running the company. Even he didn't know that he didn't think we were going to succeed either, but he stuck with it because he wanted me to be successful. He wanted us to be successful.
And do you remember, outside of that, just kind of innate grit and perseverance, what were the very almost specific things that you did to keep the company going? I mean, sales obviously is a huge part of that, but did you seek more funding? Did you seek out new markets, new clients? How did you really keep going?
Yeah. All of those things, more often it's, you learn many lessons about entrepreneurship when you go through that kind of experience over that period of time. And one of the lessons that people talk about is, if you're not being successful, what you really should do is to do fewer things better is one of the key lessons. And so we did that. We narrowed down and actually, and go to your strengths, find where your strengths are and try to build on those and hope, they're fairly unique, and yet they open up, look for those great big opportunities. So our strength was the fact that I had worked for what was then a Big 8 accounting firm, a big international accounting firm. So our strategy at that point became focus on the Big 8 accounting firms. Just focus on those firms and their clients, and so try to get those firms and those clients to recommend our product to all of the clients in the United States. And when you look at, those firms are so dominant in the corporate space and the high net worth space and everything, that my estimate was they had to represent 30-40% of the net worth of people in the United States were clients of the Big 8 accounting firm, maybe 50%. I mean, not 100%, but a high percentage number. So to answer your question, we focused on getting those firms to recommend our product to all of their offices and clients around the country. And as it turned out, we ended up with 7 of the Big 8 firms that were recommending our product to all of their clients around the country. And Arthur Andersen, which is a whole story in itself, at one point, Arthur Andersen was 40% of our business. So, when I looked at our client list, 40% of them had come to us from Arthur Andersen. They wrote books about our product. They recommended our product to all of their clients. They were building their practice around our product. Well, that takes time. And my joke about that is, Arthur Andersen used to say to me, "Well, how do we know you're going to be in business?" I would say to them, "Well, nobody's suing us the way they're suing you. So we're going to be in business." I didn't say you're not going to be in business, but I should have. But anyway, sure. So it perseverance. I mean, it's just, focusing, going to your strengths and everything. And so we found our strength really in understanding the finances of these highly complex situations, and then building technology that would address those situations, and then just keeping at it, keeping at it. Over the 30 years we ran the company, we had about 30 releases of our product. So we were constantly enhancing the technology and bringing out new capabilities. And clients would call up and say, "What have you got for me now? You guys understand what I do better than I understand what we do. And so you're developing something. Tell me what you've developed, because it's probably going to solve a problem I have that I don't even know I have." We would tell them, "Yeah, we've developed, and things like here's a perfect example. In a family office like that, often people have many checking accounts. We had clients that would have 100 checking accounts. So they were writing checks on 100 different bank accounts. Well, just keeping track of the check stock, for that, they would have whole rooms of just boxes of checks and all. And their biggest fear was they would put the wrong check stock in, and they would print a check for Mr. Jones, but they would print it on, Mrs. Smith's bank account. And that, tremendous problem. Well, we solved all that with the technology, where we developed a program that would laser print a check on blank check stock. So that all the bank account information was stored in the software. And so when they brought up an account to print checks, it would have the bank account information all there, and they would just put blank check stock into the printer, and out would come their check. So that saved them that, clients had, $20,000 or $30,000 invested in blank checks. They threw it all away. They would burn it all because they didn't need it anymore running out of software. So that's just an example of how many people, need to have the ability to print, checks on 100 different bank accounts. Well, there's a segment of the market that's a problem. Mm-hmm. And solve it, they'll pay you for it.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said too about going to your network, basically, going to the places where you already know, where you have, to a certain extent, a baked-in audience, right? And not necessarily always thinking about going direct to your customer or direct to your consumer. People have heard those kind of terms, but building these partnerships with much larger organizations who ultimately are a force multiplier for your reach in a matter of just dealing with 8 different firms in this case. So I think that's really smart and just really interesting, and something that people probably don't always think about, and certainly students, that's not something that's top of mind for them when we think about distribution or partnerships. And I'll use that as a little bit of a segue too, because one thing that I always love to talk about with the liberal arts education from Davidson is the ability to be empathetic and to understand people and be able to see things from multiple perspectives. So I was wondering if you could just speak to how Davidson and a liberal arts education in particular set a foundation for your career.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No, perfect question. Yeah. Well, and you're exactly right. I'm a tremendous believer in the liberal arts education, and what it does for you, and I, and empathy of people's situations is extremely important. And so, I think about all the classes that I wish I had taken at Davidson that I didn't take. And psychology is a classic example of it. I couldn't, with studying German and math and computer science, I didn't have time to take psychology classes, and I wish I had. I had some psychology in graduate business school, but psychology is extremely important to understand people's motivations, understand where people are coming from. And what what their motivations are, and that's empathy, obviously. And the more you can understand that, the more you can forge relationships that are mutually beneficial to all the parties. And so I tell my team all the time, it's got to work for them. Forget about us. We want it to work for us, and we'll work on making sure it does. But most importantly, it's got to work for them. And somehow, I guess to answer your question, I think the difference between people that have a liberal arts education and the ones that don't are characteristics like that. The liberal arts education helps you appreciate the fact that the technology is important, but having a solid understanding of the motivations of the other person and where they're coming from is extremely important. Extremely important.
Yeah, I love that. I as a career product manager and product marketer, just always building with the end customer in mind and understanding what is it that they need, what problems are you solving. I think to your point, you said, you were releasing every single year, and customers were calling you and saying, you probably are solving a problem I don't even know I have. I feel like that's the Steve Jobs model, right?
Steve Jobs
right.
model.
Yeah, that's great. No. Well, I'm curious too if you could talk a little bit about maybe the hardest decision that you've had to make. You kind of highlighted as you were going through your journey from Davidson to today. What was the hardest decision you've had to make, or let's just leave it there? Hardest decision you've had to make.
Yeah, sure. Well, the hardest decision is when it's not working. What do you do? And do you and again, in the entrepreneurial world, people say, there are only two things you can do. You can double down, which is to work twice as hard as you have worked, trying to make what you've been doing, just work at it harder and longer and everything. Or you can pivot. You can pivot to say, this is not working. We need a different strategy. And that's the classic kind of pivot, so change your target market, change your technology, change your orientation. I mean, change whatever you have to change, trying to still build on your strengths and try to stay with as much of what you've done as you can, but knowing that the original approach that you were taking needs to be changed. And that's the hardest decision. And again, in hindsight, it looks, I mean, to hear me talk about working with the, big 8, big 4 accounting, it sounds, that makes so much sense. I mean, of course. Well, at the time it's not. And there are people telling you, no, those firms, they won't license your product. And you work with those firms and they, it's an uphill battle. It is not easy. It is not easy. And you need revenues, you need cash flow to maintain the business. So those are the hard decisions is strategy, the strategy of the company and knowing how to approach that. It's a very, very hard decision. And you make those all the time. I mean, and I used to say, today I made a decision. I'm betting the company on this decision. I think we should do this. And if I'm right, we'll succeed. If I'm wrong, we may fail. We may, the company may just fold up its tent and go away. So those are the hard decisions, and they're all strategy oriented.
Yeah. On that example that you just mentioned, even if it's, hypothetical or not really happening in the moment, but how do you convince your team that this is the right way to go? You might feel really great about that decision, but you have an executive team and you have employees that have financial obligations to their families and so on and so forth. How do you make those decisions?
Yeah. Well, that's leadership. I mean, it's not overnight. It has to come. I mean, it's the relationship that you have with each of those people and where they are in their careers, and how they, they're obviously betting on your success because everybody's success is together. I mean, we win, we succeed and fail together. So they're hoping that the strategy you're pursuing is going to be successful. And they don't know that, you don't know that, and everything, but they either are with you or they're not with you. They either believe that there's a very good chance it's going to, because they believe in you and they see what you have done and they see how you interact with clients and they like the culture that you build in the company, and they want to be a part of that. And so they stick with you through the hard decisions, and they do the hard work to try to make it happen. So and that's leadership. And that's all about. It tests you as a leader. And I'll say one of the great satisfactions of my life is when our clients were asking us to come back and restart the company and everything. And I said, well, I'll only do that if the employees, want to do that. And a number, not all, but a number of the employees, quit good jobs and came back to work for us and starting up this company because they thought, wow, this is great. This is better than anything else I could be doing. And they liked working with me. They thought they thought the team had a tremendous chance of success. And so far we have.
That's great. And along those same lines, what are you most excited about with Forest Systems as you sort of reboot it 2.0?
Sure. Yeah. It's entrepreneurship all over. Building an entity, starting from an idea, when you have nothing except your, what you think about and everything and your relations and your contact, and building a viable business entity with a product that people like using. And pay you money for, that's extremely exciting. That is just phenomenal, and I can't get away from it. I got away from it when I sold the company, and by golly, I came right back. I had to come back. I couldn't wait to come back, and I don't need the money, So it's building an entity, and then seeing the people that participate with the entity participate with the success of the entity along with building the entity. And that's everybody, all of the people, not only the employees, but the clients and all. I mean, clients get tremendous satisfaction out of seeing us become more and more successful because they feel like they gave us a boat, which they did, when we were smaller and struggling. They had confidence in us and thought we could achieve it. And then when we start to achieve it, they're very happy about it and are more than willing to talk to other clients about the company. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's great. Well, Ed, we're just about to wrap up our time here, but I know I just want to thank you for all of your, continued support on our advisory board, obviously establishing the Van Deman Innovation Lab, hiring students through Gig Hub, serving as a strategic advisor for many on Davidson Venture Fund and in other capacities. Is there anything you'd like to just close out or some final words that you would like to close with here?
Sure. Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm a tremendous supporter of Davidson College. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Carol Quillen as president. When I went to Davidson, there were no women. It was all male. Back then there was one woman professor. So Davidson has changed, and it's for the better. And I'm proud of it. So I'm very, 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 very big supporter of Davidson. And I like to do that not only financially, but with other time and energy and everything. And we've announced recently that I'll fund the innovation lab there. We'll call it the Forest Systems Lab after my current company and all. And I've committed $100,000 to Liz and her team to support them in what they're doing. And it's just a continuing journey, and I plan to do more. I'm just looking for the right opportunities to do more things. I continue to invest in startup teams. I think the pitch competition is fantastic. I love seeing these people come with their ideas, and I love working with them and all. So and I guess I would close out by saying I'm extremely happy to see Davidson get involved, so heavily involved and successfully involved in entrepreneurship and helping graduates understand entrepreneurship and pursue entrepreneurship both while they're in school and after they get out of school and all. And I say that because something I didn't mention was for 45 years, I never set foot on Davidson campus. I gave money, but I never came back. And it wasn't that I didn't, love the school, and I didn't see it. I didn't see any connection between what I was doing as an entrepreneur and Davidson College. And I wish there were, but I just didn't see it. And I was busy. I would come to Charlotte, North Carolina on a business trip, and I wouldn't even take the time to drive up to Davidson. I didn't see how it would. Well, that changed when the entrepreneurship program launched. I thought, perfect. Yes, this is what we need to do. And let me help, with that. And let's engage with students and alumni, recent alumni and larger alumni. So I'm committed to making that successful, and I'll continue to work on that in many, many ways. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. We are so grateful for your generosity, Ed, and especially to take time out of your very busy schedule now as a CEO 2.0 of Forest Systems and a big supporter of us here at the Hurt Hub. So with that, we will close out this episode of Hub and Spoke. Thank you to all of our listeners and our viewers anywhere around the world. All right, take care, Ed.
Bye-bye.